Hey everyone, Coach Tanner here. In this video, I'm going to be going over how to find your perfect sensitivity as well as some great crosshairs for different heroes. Before we get into the video, I need to tell you about the GameLeap website for Overwatch 2 that is releasing this month. It has step-by-step courses and strategies for every single hero. We're going to make sure that it is way better and way more in-depth than anything out there on YouTube. Make sure that you pre-order your sub at 50% off by clicking the link below. Now to start off, we are going to be going over some different sensitivity ranges while I sit here in the practice range. So my current sensitivity is 4.0% at 800 DPI. And if you don't know your mouse's DPI, make sure to look it up so that you can get a good accurate representation of how fast your current sensitivity is. So one great way to find a good sensitivity for you is to start low with your sensitivity. For example, if you have 12 or 10 sensitivity now, then you can half it and go to 5. And then you can go into a custom game like I am now. I'm in a practice range with a little tracer bot here. The code should be on screen. Then you can track this tracer bot here, and if you find that you're too jittery, you can continue going down, or if you find that it's much too slow for you and your mouse goes constantly to the edge of your mouse pad, then you should slowly start increasing your sensitivity by 0.5 each time, and then continue tracking the tracer bot. You can see that if I go up to a sensitivity of 10 here, then it is very jittery when I'm trying to track. It's way too fast for me, and I couldn't actually control this in any real situation. If you find it very hard to track this tracer, that's completely fine, but you have to realize that this tracer is going to be a little bit easier to track than any normal tracer in your ranked games. So if I go down to 4%, which is my normal sensitivity, you can see that it's much slower, but it's a lot more smooth whenever the tracer is blinking and I flick towards her. This is really important because any smooth movement will make it so that whenever you're shooting with any tracking hero like Soldier 76, that your bullets are easier and closer together than when you're moving quickly. What I mean by this is, if I do a little bit of a spray against this wall here, you can see that the faster I move, the more the bullets are spread out. So on a tiny target like Tracer, you need to be as smooth as possible so that all of your bullets stay within her hitbox. Alright, now even if you settle with a low sensitivity, there is a feature in Overwatch here on the right side of the screen under all heroes where you can click change hero, and this will pull up every hero in the game and allow you to change their individual settings. For example, if 4 sensitivity is way too low for you on Genji, which it pretty much is for me, then I like to set my sensitivity 1 or 2% higher on heroes that I need a lot of movement on. So for Genji, I would set it to 6 so that I can easily do my dash and then immediately turn around a lot easier. And speaking of hero sensitivity, there are 2 changes that you should be making for Ashe and Widowmaker. The first is on Ashe here. You can come down to your hero section in the Ashe specific settings and change your relative aim sensitivity while zoomed to 51.47%. What this does is it's going to make it so that whenever you're zoomed in, it's going to be the same relative sensitivity as when you're zoomed out. And this will make it so that your muscle memory for any flicks that you do outside of this is going to be the same for any flicks that you do while you're aimed in. And the same for Widowmaker. You can change her individual specific hero setting so that her relative aim sensitivity while zoomed is at 37.89%, and this is going to be the exact same as the Ashe setting, where any flicks you make inside your zoom is going to be the same as the flicks that you make outside of your zoom. So you can develop that muscle memory on every different hero. For example, if you like doing McCree flicks like this, then you can easily develop the muscle memory on McCree and transfer it over to Widowmaker or Ashe. That is enough for the sensitivity settings. Let's get into the crosshairs next. The first thing about crosshairs is that it is, again, personal preference. And one thing that shouldn't be personal preference is the color of your crosshair. Depending on the map, the color of your crosshair is going to range from invisible on certain bright maps if you choose yellow to invisible on dark maps if you choose black or red. Now, certain colors like red, pink, and black are decent, but red has a conflict if you have the red outlines of enemies on. So if you aim at an enemy with a red crosshair and you have red outlines on, it's going to be difficult to distinguish your crosshair between the enemies, and it might make it harder to actually aim. So make sure that you're picking a good neutral color like green that can easily stand out from all of the differential colors in this game. Now for your crosshair, this circle crosshair that I have here is one of my favorites for characters like Widowmaker, McCree, and very precision aiming characters like Ana and Zenyatta, where you need to be very precise in your shot and you need to actually aim at specific body parts like the head. To get this crosshair, you can come to the crosshair type, select circle and crosshairs, then you can turn show accuracy off, keep the color at whatever you like. The thickness should be 1, crosshair length 0, center gap 10, and this can be anywhere between, I would say, 8 and 12, depending on what you like, but I like to keep mine at about 10 or 9 if I'm feeling spicy. For opacity, you want to keep it at 100. Outline, this is preferential, but I wouldn't go above 50%. With the outline, I keep mine at 0. And for the dot size, this doesn't matter, as your dot opacity should be at 0%. Next crosshair I'm going to go over is one that I use for general other heroes, and that is going to be just a normal crosshairs, 1 thickness, no accuracy, crosshair length should be 8, and the center gap should be 4. This is a decent crosshair for most heroes, and it should get you by. Alright, now there are 2 different crosshairs you can do for Hanzo as well. So the first crosshair that I usually use for Hanzo is this one right here, with the circle and the dot. So what you do is you have the accuracy on with a semi-large dot in the center. It can be 5 or 6. Make sure your dot opacity is at 100% and the normal opacity is at 100% as well. And this is going to look like this with a dot and a circle. And what you see is when you pull the arrow back, you can see that the circle goes in for the charge of the arrow. This helps you get really good at actually knowing the charge on your bow. Now, another crosshair that I like to use as Hanzo is the default crosshair here. So if we go into game, you can see that it is pretty good at showing you the charge of the bow as well, but it doesn't have that circle, but it is much larger than any normal crosshair, although it can be useful at helping you aim for farther shots. So make sure you try both of these out. Now, one specific thing I want to go over is for certain heroes like Diva, Doomfist, Junker Queen, Roadhog, and Reaper that have big spread weapons, you might want a different crosshair similar to this one right here, or the default crosshair that they come with. Now, this is because you have a lot wider of a spread with these heroes, and if you're close up to an enemy, it's a lot easier to line up your crosshair on their center mass with just a small dot in the center, as well as the big outline around your spread. And to make this crosshair, you could either set the default crosshair for Reaper, or you can do circle and crosshairs with 1 thickness, center gap at 100, or you can do it a little bit smaller if you like, opacity at 100, dot size at 4 or 5, and dot opacity at 100. That is all I have for you guys. Thank you all for watching, and I want to hear your sensitivity in the comments below. And thanks again for watching. I will see you all in the next video.